and Landlord Coach. So it looks like we're all good to go here. So hello, everybody. Hope you're having an amazing weekend. The weather is absolutely gorgeous outside. If we could just get it to stop raining now, but I'm not going to complain about that. It's been actually really nice out. So um, wanted to um, talk to you really quickly about some basic things. I've had a lot of people reaching out. This is kind of the Ask Coach session. Hello, Al, Jeff, Wayne. Nice to see you all. I've had a lot of people submitting questions throughout the Ask Coach sessions, and those are the paid members on the membership site. So I have I've had a fair number of people who are not members reach out to me with some very basic questions, and it's actually I'm realizing there's a lot of people out there that don't even know where to get started. And I'm talking when I bring the content that I'm bringing to some of the people, to you guys. I'm talking about things as if you've already got 10 to 20 to 30 rental properties, and that is definitely the minority of people out there. There's a lot of people that don't even know where to get started, which I respect, because honestly, I didn't know where to get started back when I bought my first rental property back in 1998, a year out of the Marine Corps. So, hey, Jennifer, nice to see you. So I didn't know what I didn't know, right? But I went and I started educating myself, and times were different back then. Times were different back in 1998 when lending was different, and the real estate market, of course, was different. It's hard to believe I've been doing something. I've been in entrepreneurship for over 20 years now, but that's one of the things I want to talk about today. So I really want to talk about going basic and about some just one of the basic tools that it's in your toolbox that you are going to need as an entrepreneur. I don't care if it's if for those of you who are watching this that don't have any interest in getting into real estate or buying a rental or anything like that, it's still going to be a tool that you're going to need in your toolbox, right? Thanks, Al. It was my honor to serve. I appreciate you saying that. But one of the things that I think a lot of people make the mistake on, and business owners don't recognize this, that the state of your personal life and the state of your business, even if it's a personal business, they're going to be very closely related. You like, if your life is a disaster, don't think that your business is going to be all running, peaches and cream, because they're very much interrelated, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because you're going to work as many hours as you need to work to get things done. So that said, your financial life is also going to be intermingled. And that's why one of the things I want to talk about today, and I don't want to make this about a credit repair sort of tutorial, but I want to bring up one of the biggest tools that you're going to have in your toolbox as an entrepreneur, especially as a real estate entrepreneur, is your credit and your credit score. So there's lots of people who don't recognize that. And then I'm going to try to see if I can post a poll here. Here we go. Sorry, it always takes me a second to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and post that poll. If you guys can see that, give me a thumbs up, or just let me know that you're seeing it. There we go. Now we see it popping up there. But how often do you monitor your credit score? And that is something that is one of the most important tools in your toolbox as an entrepreneur. And again, especially if you're going to be in real estate, because you can't necessarily save your way up to buying your first rental property. I mean, unless you're doing a lot of wholesaling. Now let's talk about wholesaling a little bit and really what that is. Most people, if you're trying to, sorry, I'm getting distracted here. If you're trying to buy a property, say you want to buy a distressed property, you buy it at a tax sale, there's an out-of-state owner who's just fed up with having a property that's 5 states over. You have to get on an airplane to go take a look at it. And they just want to unload the property. They don't really care. They're like, look, just pay me something. I don't care. I haven't been to the property in 10 years. We're trying to manage it from out of state. We have a property manager that doesn't really seem to care about it, blah, blah, blah. Make me an offer, right? So you make an offer, and say you buy a property for $20,000 in cash, and you can sell that property to someone else. You literally don't do anything to the property. This isn't flipping a property. This is basically you take a property, you might mow the grass. That might be about as much as you do. And you have a cash buyer already lined up who says, "Yeah, I'll buy that property. It's worth 50,000 all day long." Now, they don't know what you paid for it, okay? So, ideally, you would do what's called a double close, where you basically buy the property and sell the property basically at the same time. And they get to see, you get a big fat check for, 25, $30,000 or whatever. You make the difference on the spread. Now, there's a lot of people doing wholesaling, and there's a lot of people who do that can get themselves into the real estate game, right? Because you can make a lot of money in a really short period of time, but it's a lot of hustling. I mean, it's a great deal of hustling. Now, I don't want to make this a tutorial about wholesaling. I've done some wholesaling, not a lot, but I've done some flips, not a lot. I'm a buy and hold guy, always have been. I bought stuff that have held almost 20 years now. And that's just always been my strategy. So that's a great way to get in the game. But here's the problem that most people don't recognize. So you're buying these wholesale properties or everything else, but where are you going to come up with the 20 grand? Right? Like, it's really hard to just save your way. Most people just don't have that in savings. And if they did, it's usually buried away in a retirement account where they can't necessarily get to it. Or if they are going to get to it, there's going to be significant penalties, if they borrow from it or that sort of thing. So really, that's why you need to check and be on top of your credit and credit score so you understand. And here's why. Let's say, for argument's sake, you come across a buyer or seller of a property, right? And they have a house that is currently being rented, whether maybe it's a duplex, triplex, something like that, and they are just worn out. They don't want to manage the property anymore. They're 4 states away, and the tenants are giving them a lot of grief and that sort of thing. Okay, fine. When you go to them and you say, "Hey, are you interested in selling the property?" You could very easily, one of the best ways to get financing on a property is to have the owner finance it back to you, especially if they own the property free and clear. I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of what you can offer them. So you offer them something, but they don't really know you. Okay. They have no reason to want to trust you, and you don't really have a whole lot of money to put down. And you come to them with a 522 credit score and a bunch of credit card debt. Why would they take a chance with you? Right? This is why I'm talking about your credit being a tool in your toolbox. Now, if you went to them and said, "Okay, hey, I've got, $10,000 down because you've been doing some wholesaling, or maybe you were working a little bit of overtime, you've been socking that money away, you haven't been putting it anywhere, you've been saving it. What I physically actually did was, back when my barn fire days in 2009, 2010, just to get used to saving, I would literally take I think it was just $100. In fact, I don't even think I started $100. I think it was $20 a week, and I would literally put it into a safety deposit box. So I physically couldn't get to it. It was a pain in the ass to get to it. So I had to go and get a key and all that. I mean, it was a nightmare, right? But I had that money, and then it went to $100 a week, and then I was able to save some substantial money. But I needed to get a savings plan back in place, and and then after a while I would open it up and see like this stack of money there and a stack of hundreds. I was like, man, that's not a bad feeling, right? When you see, $20,000 sitting in a box. Now, granted, I mean, it's not like I was making a whole lot of money, but I had that access to capital that I could use to buy things and pay off things if it made sense. So, of course, that took several years to get to that amount of money. But my point is that if deals came along, I had the capital to get into deals because I already had the capital. I already had the cash setting aside. But there's nobody that would have taken a risk with me based on my credit alone, because I mean, I was that guy with a 522 credit score. I don't even know how low it was, but it was in the low 500s because I had all these foreclosures against me. So once I got all the bills kind of paid and everybody was, getting set in, getting something. Everybody that got in line got something. I didn't declare bankruptcy, but I set about getting my credit fixed and started to work on getting things, off my credit. If I had paid something off and it was still reporting, I was, working on that. But that was one of true intention. Now, out there are several ways that you can do that, and there's lots of people who have they join Credit Karma or that sort of thing. Al, you're saying you use CreditWise app to see your score. Okay. I'm not familiar with that, but one of the ones that I really, really like is myfico.com. It's myfico.com. And the reason I like myfico.com is because it gives you a very granular view of your not only the three bureaus, the Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, but it also gives you the type of score that's important for you for the type of borrowing that you're going to do. Who knew that there was different types of scores? I didn't. I just knew that there were three different scores, and they were Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. I didn't realize that there's a FICO score 8, there's a FICO score 9, there's a FICO score 5. So FICO score 5, for example, is what mortgage lenders and auto lenders will look at. That's the score they look at. And that will be substantially different than one that the credit card issuers look at, the FICO bank card score 8. Who knew? I had no idea that there was all these differences in the um, credit reporting side of things. So that's where you need to start educating yourself. And it does cost. It's about $29-$30 a month. And if so you can start out with the free sites like, Credit Karma. The score I would not give a whole lot of weight to, but the information that's in there is actually quite accurate, and it updates, I think, once a month. So, and I think it may be 30 days in arrears, but it's not bad information. Especially, I used a lot of their their tools and tips in there to get my credit back up to where I was starting to be able to borrow again and get credit cards and get bank financing to help me, get to where I want to go. Now, again, you use that as a tool in your toolbox, not as a crutch, because when you're using it as a crutch, that is when the crutch is going to break and you will fall and break your legs and your neck and everything else, which is what I did back in 2009. I was way too heavily leveraged and leaned way too heavy on other people's money. So that's the conversation for today. So let's take a look at the let's see the poll here. Okay, so we have we have 100% for often, and didn't have anybody voting on the other page. That's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and publish the results. But that's probably the biggest thing that I could say is, if I'm going to basics, and for those of you who are interested in entrepreneurship in general, just getting into business for yourself, and I don't care if it's real estate or not real estate, make sure you protect your credit and utilize that as a tool in your toolbox. If you have a credit score, again, it depends on the credit score. Like I said, if it's FICO score 8, 9, or 5 or whatever, or a bank card score 8, which is different than a FICO score 8. Again, I don't make this stuff up. It's just, it's all part of it. But they're looking at different things at different risks. So if you're looking to get a credit card, you want to look at certain things versus over getting a mortgage loan and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and publish these results. I'll allow you guys to vote, continue to vote. But it looks like a few of you are checking your score often. So that's good. That's good news. All right. Well, that's all I have for today. Please remember to place a value on your free time, because if you don't, someone else will. I promise they will value your free time more than you do. And most importantly, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have a great rest of your day and take good care, guys. We'll see you again.